Hey Switchheads, my name's Kanan and welcome to my view of Writhe, a first-person action arcade time chaser, or score chaser, by Mission Control Studios. And since the early days of Space Invaders, people have been obsessed with getting into that zone and beating other people's scores in these great score chasers. But is this a good one, or are you just best off waiting for something a little less wiggly? Okay, let's get this party started. And from the actual menu, you can see that already it's good because we have leaderboards. Thank goodness for leaderboards. And there's one for each of the actual levels, which there are 3 now, but the developers have actually said they're going to add some more at a later date, which is great. And before anyone says it, it's all free DLC. And as you can see, I'm not the worst player on there. In fact, I'm doing pretty decently, even if I say so myself. And from there's another neat feature, which is the fact that there's a lore about this game. And as you collect these gems during gameplay, I'll show you that later on, we can see that as they mount up, you unlock these nice little bits of the story, done in a very neat and cool way. And I would suggest reading them because they are actually quite good, and it does actually bring out quite a good story. And there's one more thing I just want to show you before we get into the actual game, and that's the fact that you can have graphic mode set to quality and performance, which will affect the FPS, raising it to 60 or 30 depending on how you want to actually play and what's more important to you. But my favourite thing about this screen is the screen filters, and they can be set to modern, retro and CRT, and they all have different effects. My favourite is CRT because it gives it kind of almost like a between the retro and the modern type style. Hell, I like it anyway. And so let's get into the actual game itself. So as I said before, the game is a score chaser, or in this case a time chaser, where you have to last basically as long as you can. And trust me, this is no mean feat. It's quite difficult when you get right into it, and the further you last, the harder it gets, and the more come after you of these worms. So how will you defend yourself? Well, you have like a laser gun, which is cool. You can just keep pumping that out and destroying things. You also have a shotgun at your left hand side. They kind of describe it as a crowd control shotgun, whereas I would call it the get your ass out of the shit shotgun. And so as you can see from the top, you get your timer, and at the bottom you get your lives. Deplete these and it's game over. That's normal. And then your score goes hopefully up onto the leaderboard, where you can boast or just cry yourself to sleep. The gems you collect, as I mentioned earlier, can be spent on learning the lore of the game, and as you progress through the level, your weapon will increase in power as you collect these said gems. There are 3 types of actual worms. There's your standard worms that just basically come out of these pods and just swarm you time and time again. Easy on their own, difficult in a swarm. There's the green ones that blow up after you've killed them, and they need to be like kept at a distance, because if you shoot them too close to you, you'll take damage. But they also, by the looks of it, injure the other worms. And then there's the worms that are really difficult to kill, much bigger, much faster, and they do a lot more damage to you. And these hatch out of these eggs that appear now and again, but if you can get to the egg and destroy it in time, you can actually gain some health back from it, and also it'll stop that big nasty getting out, which is kind of a win-win really, isn't it? And that's basically the game in a nutshell. And before I go on, I just want to mention this museum like area that you can go into. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's fleshed out really well, and again, it's got information about the creatures, it's got information about the weapons, the actual armor, and all sorts about the actual game in there. It's absolutely beautiful, and they didn't need to put this in, but I'm glad they did, because I've had a good walk around here, and it's just a nice break from the pace of quick action. And there's even an old guy in here that has a story to tell, and also recipes. Just go in there and find out. It's actually really good. And so I've tried it on the TV, and it works really well, as well as the actual handheld. Each of the maps look completely different to each other and have their own obstacles and their own feel about them, which I feel is a must in a game like this, otherwise it will get stale really quickly. And as I said before, they intend on adding a couple more maps to the actual game in the future as well, which is great to see support being continued for the game. Now, I did try one thing which I've tried on other games of this ilk, and that's running around, not shooting, just to see if I can avoid the actual worms themselves, and therefore cheating in a way to try and add time to your actual run. But I'm happy to say you can't actually do that. You do actually get overwhelmed, and the actual worms do actually catch up with you, especially those big, fast and rather annoying ones. In a good way, of course. Graphically, I think this actually looks really nice on the Switch. It plays really smoothly. I've had no real issues with it whatsoever. I love the fact that you get 3 different styles that you can play the game in, and to be honest with you, when I first started playing the game I was completely happy with the settings that they had it on, but then when I tried the others, the retro was pretty neat, but I ended up leaving it on CRT because I just felt that was a really nice look to the game. I love the fact that when you're too close to one of the worms, when you blow it up or destroy it, it splatters all into your face. There are some really nice little touches within this game. That museum is just gorgeous, it absolutely is. As for the sound, well, it's just as equally as good. The soundtrack to this is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I just love it. It's got that really energetic feel to it, and it really does spur you on at times. It really does feel right and feel like, you know, it belongs in this game. All the other sounds, the shotgun, the laser, the splatter, the screeches, they're all perfect for this game. It just sounds like this game's made with love, which from what I could gather, it has been made with love. Just take another listen. This game has captured that one more go feeling brilliantly. To say absolutely spot on, it has captured it so well you would not believe unless you actually try the game, and I would urge you to. And so let's get on with a bit of scoring, shall we? And I rate games out of 5, and this is my own personal view, how I experienced the game, how much joy I got into the game, and whether I'll probably pick it up and play it at a later date or after I finish my reviewing of it. And you know what? I'm going to give Writhe a darn good 5 out of 5. It's not the most perfect game I've ever played in this genre, but it's perfect on the pick up, play, one more go. I have not felt this for such a long time. The times that you're out of a game to go back into a game is pretty minimum, which means that you can almost literally jump straight back into a game once you have died, and that really is important. Now, it's hard for me to stress how good this actual game is, because when I went into it, it seemed a bit basic, but when I came out of it, well, yeah, I'm hooked. I will be playing this for many moons from now, and that feeling that you get when you actually get a higher score or time is immense. It's just a really good feeling. They've captured that really well. As I said before, it just does hold you really well into the game. And I know this probably isn't going to be everybody's cuppa, but I think if you're into this sort of thing, this will hook you hook, line and sinker, like a worm on a hook, I suppose. And so it's your turn to give me feedback. Are you going to be picking this game up when it comes out? If you're watching this and it's out, did you pick it up? Did you enjoy it? Have you had fun with it? Let me know down in the comments, because, well, that's where they belong. And consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Become a member of the Switch Ads family, which is growing really nicely. And thank you to all my wonderful subs, new and old. I could not do this without you. And remember, life is better when we switch together.